aggregate our voices because we're stronger together than separate. Today, I could go, for example, and through my network of contacts, sit with a minister of finance, with a president, to kind of say, look, the way that the tax laws are written is detrimental to this industry that's bringing in a lot of net capital into our countries. The way the regulatory framework makes it for financial intermediation to be possible for us, meaning insurers and pension funds can invest in our types of institutions so that we can roll out the capital in a professional way with transparency. As much as, I could do that, other people could do that, it doesn't mean as much if we come in as a group. And that government person can see people representing all walks of, geographic life in Africa, Southern Africans, people from Nigeria, North Africans, and then also all types of different funds, SME, medium-sized, to the multi-billion-dollar funds. I think it really sends a very powerful message, and that's what I'm hoping that with this board, increasingly, we're going to get through AFCA an opportunity to have a voice for the industry, just like any other industry. Today, one of the major challenges is finding companies that are ready to actually absorb the increasingly large amounts that our industry is being in a position to usher into the continent. And is that a function of just their size or just the stage they are as companies? It's the stage, and the stage sometimes is regardless of size. You have some large companies that are just not that well organized. You have some small companies, and then it's more understandable. But you need, proper financials. You need proper structure and governance. You need a number of our companies to graduate from having a finance director who's really a very qualified accountant to having an actual CFO who can look at the financial projections, not just as how do I meet my budget to get a bonus that is linked to performance of the company, but to kind of look at financial projections as what kind of market share are we going to get, and how do I trickle all of that down to the actual expenditure on marketing, expenditure on staff, development of staff and human resources, expenditure also on MIS and a number of things, where the CFO ends up doing much more than accounting.
So does that imply, if I hear you right, what you're saying is that Africa doesn't provide a huge pipeline of CEOs or business managers that are ready to manage big companies? Is that what you're saying?
Not exactly, because honestly, every time in the companies we invest, we've needed to get the right human resources. We've actually gotten some pretty good ones. And I think that that's one of the most gratifying things of Africa today. All of us growing up, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, if somebody worked at Morgan Stanley, everybody knew their name. Now, people work in all kinds of very illustrious companies and industries around the world. We have, phenomenal talent coming out of Africa that wants to come back and can come back. That wasn't the case just 10 years ago. If you're a really qualified person with very good local degrees or international degrees, chances are, you'll have some problems finding a job if you want to come back to Africa. So a lot of people expatriated themselves. But today, a lot more can come back. And it's a matter of provide a proper market for their skills locally. So I continue to be very optimistic that it is possible to place a lot of those guys. But there is an inefficiency in the market. Maybe that's where I kind of will join the point you were hinting at, which is there's an inefficiency to place the people in the right places. And most importantly, that there is a mind shift. There is at the CEO and decision maker level, it's no longer just hiring somebody because they got a degree, but hiring somebody because you have a vision of where you want to take your company, and then you go back and put people in a place to make that vision a reality, rather than let me get a couple of gadgets people who have degrees and have all of these things, and then you don't know what to do. Everybody gets frustrated. But I think that the growth of the economy warrants that you have no choice. If you don't do that and you don't develop that vision, you will be obsolete and other people will take your place.
So let's focus on Francophone West Africa and the opportunities we're seeing there. When people talk about West Africa, they tend to talk a lot about Nigeria, given its domination of the region, but give us a sense of the opportunities you're seeing in Francophone West Africa.
There are opportunities first and foremost because of an incredible amount of regional integration, and we have to give a lot of credit to our political leaders who, at a time when no one could foresee where things are today for Africa, put in place a great framework for regional collaboration and cooperation, not really knowing where that will go, but being, that's what you call a visionaire. And today, those countries share a common law code called OHADA, and that really simplifies things. You can get a local council in Mali who will go and work with you in Burkina Faso because it's the same business legal code. That is critical. Number two is you have a common currency and a common monetary policy. Some people have views one way or the other, but it really makes it possible for you to look at this whole region as one. A customs union where, if you're making goods in Senegal, you're able to sell them into Guinea without any tax, any customs and border issues. So those are the things that I think companies in our region need to take advantage of, and they're not doing it enough. And that is why, as investors, when you come into Togo and there's a Togolese company doing, I don't know, an agribusiness project, and that's all they do in that country, then you have to be stuck in that small size with very limited growth, which, depending on the size of the fund, could work. But I think the regional integration is, to me, the most important element that will make it possible to actually start collaborating with Nigeria, with Ghana, rather than seeing them as competitors and saying, well, these are small, these are big, but that one integrated region will be something more interesting for investors.